Craig, thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
You're a bit of a fan of this podcast, aren't you?
Yeah, I have no choice. I see it all the time coming up. It's been very, very well promoted on social media. But I do watch it, Caney. I've watched all the episodes, and I know a few of the people, obviously, that you've had on as guests. So it's going well. Congratulations.
You know what? Even the Tony Mowbray one, I did a lot of my prep from listening to your interview with him. He's an incredible bloke, that guy, isn't he?
He is. He is. Anyone who does something like that, sails around the world by themselves, and, you know, you're out there at the will of the ocean and anything could happen and you're prepared to do it, that takes a lot of guts and a lot of self-belief to do that. And then to do Sydney-Hobart as many times as Tony did, and then go back again and drink from the well after the diabolical nature of the 98 Hobart when lives were lost.
Yep.
And he nearly lost his own life.
That's the thing I couldn't believe. But it's funny, on the live show that he was on with us a couple of weeks ago, the people that I introduced him to, like Craig McLaughlin, Craig come to me and said, that bloke's incredible. It's like he has this touch on people that, I don't know, it's like he brings them in just in his talk. And it's almost like when you start talking to him, they all think, it feels like you've known him forever.
Yeah. Oh, he's a great communicator. I've known Tony for a long time. Back, I think, I started doing crosses to him, radio crosses. He was on a satellite phone when he was in the middle of the Pacific or whichever ocean he was in at the time, and I had him on radio. So that's 25 years ago. So I've known Tony a long time.
I think we've been talking about him too long because he will charge a fee if we keep doing it. Mate, you've left no stone unturned with the promise. You've been going everywhere. You'd have a pretty good choc top review going, wouldn't you?
I love the choc tops. You've probably been well versed on this because that is my one thing. If I go to the movies, whether it's my film or whether it's someone else's, there is only one condition, and that is I get a choc top. And I have to have a choc top.
Some of those old theatres you've been, you'd probably be able to still roll a Jaffa down the aisle, wouldn't you?
Jaffas? Where do they sell Jaffas now? They sell them?
Mate, the Strand would.
The Strand.
The Strand at Singleton.
The Strand at Singleton, yes. The Strand at Singleton had Jaffas, and I can't confirm this 100%, but I might have rolled the odd Jaffa down the aisle myself.
You've seen plenty of films there.
Yeah.
What was your best?
In the time I used to go and watch films at the Strand in Singleton, Bruce Lee was the flavour of the month. I saw all the Bruce Lee films that came out around, it would have been mid-70s when his films were out, the Kung Fu films.
Yep. And
so I'd keep going back and back and back for those. Saw a couple of Australian films, but none apart from Poseidon Adventure was another one.
Yep.
Poseidon Adventure was a big film in the mid-70s. So I saw that film as a kid as well.
That'd be about the Jaws era too.
And Jaws, yes, yeah.
God, you have a look at that. I don't think, David, have you seen Jaws?
I haven't actually. I'm not, but it's something on the list.
The thing is too is that at the time we were scared shitless watching it, but people more younger now would look at it and go, "How could you get frightened of that? It didn't even look real."
That's exactly what happened with my kids when I watched Jaws and saw it for the first time. When the shark leaps out of the water and chews up Robert Shaw in the back of the boat. I'm just terrified. And my daughter watches it for the first time and she's 14.
Yeah.
And she said, who'd get scared of that shark? Look, it's mechanical. It's a fake shark. So, it's generational. It's a generational thing.
Just staying on the cinemas, so many good cinemas around, and as again, you're visiting them all now, but it's one that's in your neck of the woods. It's just around, not far from your house, actually, in New Lambton. The old Savoy. It's on the corner. I think it's a community centre now.
Yes.
I think we got it. There it is.
Yep. That's the Savoy.
Now, did you know in 1976, AC/DC played there?
No. Tell me no. 1976.
They opened for Sherbet.
In 1976 at the Savoy.
Yeah.
Where do you get your information? So 76, I was 13.
Yep.
I was 13 and certainly still in Singleton. But, gee, that's a good bit of trivia.
Well, I mean, you look up all the gigs that they have, and they had a few in Newcastle around that time. They played at the Civic Theatre.
Yeah.
And they also played at the Town Hall.
Was the Palais a thing in those days?
I don't know. But imagine Bon Scott in the Town Hall.
Yeah. Bit hard to imagine.
Every time I speak to you, I give you a call, we talk cricket. And I don't know why, because I know you. Or I do know why, because you did play local cricket and at a fair level as well. You wanted to bowl for Australia, didn't you?
Yeah, I had a dream to open a bowling for Australia, or at least play Test cricket when I was in my early teens, probably younger than that. And for whatever reason, I don't know, but it was at lofty heights. It wasn't just I want to play in a first grade side, or I want to be, in a district team or a representative team or a state team. I like this cricket you see on TV, this Test cricket, so I want to play that. And I was inspired as a kid by Dennis Lilly. He was my hero as a kid. So watching him, he had the lot. Yeah. He had the lot, Dennis Lilly. He was quick. He could swing the ball. He could cut the ball. He had a wicked bouncer. He had just a competitive nature that's next to nothing.
The low
cut shirt,
with
the chains, the aggression. Oh. He had it all. So Lily was an inspiration. So, I'm like a lot of kids. That's where you get a lot of your inspiration and your motivation from, watching your heroes. And he was a hero for me. And the interesting thing about it, I'd always heard from people, never meet your heroes.
Yep.
Because you'll be disappointed. Now, the first time I met Dennis Lilly, he wasn't playing cricket. It was well past then. Yep. And I was working for the ABC, and I got to meet him and interview him. And I could not be more impressed.
Were you nervous?
Slightly.
Yeah.
Slightly. I'd been interviewing and been broadcasting for a long time by that stage, but we're talking next level fan here, because this is the guy that I, grew up idolising. Yeah. But no, he was so genuine and so modest and so calm, collected, and giving of his time to be interviewed. And I thought, this bloke's the real deal.
Mine was Steve Waugh, but mine's the other way. You say you don't meet your heroes. I interviewed Steve a couple of times, but it was after his career. So it was like he was getting managed by this management firm, which was more like, you can ask him this, and this, but you can only ask him one question on cricket. And it's like, because he'd be doing some sort of charity, it's all about that, which I get, you get it, but you still want to get a few cricket questions in. You end up asking, and he answers it, but I didn't like the way it was sort of structured. And the amazing thing about it is that down the track, only about 3 years ago, I launched my own book. I wrote a book a few years ago on an Indian family that owns a restaurant in Sydney, and I said, we need someone to launch this book. And they said, who do you think? And I said, well, someone that a cricketer would be great, like a Brett Lee, like say he goes to India. And they said, what about Steve Waugh? And I said, well, how are you going to get Steve Waugh? Well, he eats here. Steve Waugh launched my book.
Is that right?
And but it was a great night, But it's funny, when I first interviewed him the first couple of times, I wasn't that impressed. But it worked out good in the end, didn't it?
Yeah, I get it. Some people are more media friendly than others. Some people enjoy being interviewed and will do everything they can to get in front of a microphone. And others with profiles like coaches. I've met just about any of the NRL coaches that you could name. Some of them like being interviewed, and some of them would rather be anywhere else.
But do you find, you would have interviewed a lot of people where they're on some sort of tour and they're getting interviewed all the time? I suppose a little bit like yourself with The Promise. Like, I've listened to so many interviews leading into this, and I feel like I'm you're in autopilot. It's the same questions. And don't get me wrong, these are questions that have to be asked. But it's almost like I'm hearing the same answer all the time. And that's why with this, I wanted to say this is going to be something different than what you're used to.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But you still wanted to play. You still reckon you could have opened the bowling in your mid-20s for Australia. You still had that
Look,
desire.
that's a big call. Did I write that somewhere?
I heard you say that somewhere.
Yeah, look, maybe not mid-20s, maybe that, look, it might have been mid-20s that the dream still flickered, because by the time I was mid-20s, I was playing first grade cricket in Newcastle with Belmont and doing well. By the time the late 80s rolled along, I was probably 26, 27. I was in the Newcastle side, and then I was in the New South Wales countryside and played against Sri Lanka.
Yeah,
Had a game
there.
Yeah, that's after I can tell you where that is. That's after a Waratah Mayfield Belmont grand
I was
final.
going to say that's a Belmont shirt. You're right there.
Yep, that's Belmont, and we'd won that game against Waratah Mayfield. So I digress. I'm playing against Sri Lanka. They're on a tour in Australia.
Yep.
Okay. So, and that's as high as it went for me. I mean, I got a chance to play against an international side. But if you're not dreaming, and this is the thing about that I think has marked all of the things I've done in my life, the achievements, they've started as dreams or goals, you know. Tell me I can't do something and I'll just pocket it away. That's if I want to do it, and I'll find out a way to achieve it. Not everyone gets to play for Australia. Not everyone gets to represent their country at any other sport and become the Prime Minister. There's very few. That's very rare, rarefied air. But that doesn't stop you, and it shouldn't stop anybody for having a dream or a goal.
We'll look at someone around that era, maybe reel it back a little bit, but Dutchy Holland. Mm-hmm. I mean, 38 years old, he's playing Test cricket. I think we've got a little clip of when he rolled the West Indies. Clive Lloyd.
Got some handy wickets.
Well, I said he got a. Well, I mean that wasn't his first test, but he picked up Gordon Greenwich twice in that test.
Viv Richards. Yep.
And Clive Lloyd.
Yeah, a good bag of wickets.
And when you think of it too, like, I mean, you're saying, you know, your late 20s, you're sort of thinking, he was 32 by the time he actually cracked the New South Wales side. I mean, should be a bloody mini-series about this. There should be a movie about this. Like, do you think he gets the credit when you look back, on seriously, like in regards to what he did at that age? I don't think he gets as much plaudits.
Well, I think the biggest thing about Dutchy, and one of the nicest blokes you would ever meet, and I played quite a bit of cricket against Dutchy when he was playing for Southern Lakes, and I was playing for Belmont. And then you see him make the New South Wales side as a leg spinner, as you say, at 32, which is unheard of, really, to be making your state debut at 32. Yeah. And then 6 years later, at 38, he's called up into the Australian Test side. It's a fairy tale story there to make the team. But then you see highlights of that game in Sydney, and he took 10 wickets for the match. Australia bowled the West Indies out, and he got all those.
Went on an Ashes tour.
Went on an Ashes tour in 1985. So, a great achievement for Dutchy.
Geez, after he did that, you would have been practising your leggies when you're at the back of Carl Oval.
No, there was another bloke just around the corner. You wouldn't want to be bowling leggies. You wouldn't get a look in.
Just you're staying with, I suppose, what inspires you, like, the Dennis Lilly sort of stuff. Remember when New South Wales used to come to Newcastle and play regularly Sheffield Shield cricket at the number 1 sports ground? I used to go there. God, I would have been only 10, 11 years old, take the day off school. There's a school card here. It would have been 1982, 1981, 82. Mm-hmm. Like, look at this. Like, Trevor Chappell, Dirk Wellham, Peter Toohey, Graham Beer, Steve Rickson. Let's have a look at the new Queensland team.
Yeah, a few good names there. Kepler Wessels, Greg Chappell, Alan Border, Greg Ritchie,
Now, that's-
All Test players.
and
Jeff
it-
Thompson.
back when
Yeah.
they actually used to play Shield cricket,
Yeah.
and it was funny when I was in Sydney with Channel 10, there was a poll at the time with there was because they were playing in, which they still do. I mean, New South Wales played Victoria and St Kilda last weekend. There was a poll whether does the players want to play on the big grounds like the MCG, the SCG, or play in the suburban, the regionals. They all said the SCG, MCG every time,
Yeah.
even though there's no one there.
Yeah.
I think it's probably because if you're trying to play for Australia, you want the best possible deck, and you don't really know what you're going to get in the regionals. Yeah. I mean, do you think it'd be great to see them more in the regionals?
Absolutely. I think there's nothing more depressing than seeing a great venue like the SCG or the MCG absolutely bare of spectators when there's a first class game on. I can't remember the last time I watched the Sheffield Shield. I wouldn't know who's won the Sheffield Shield, who's doing something in the Sheffield Shield. There used to be 10,000 that would come to the number one sports ground when the Shield was playing with teams like that. And, they'd be all spread out around the hill and the small grandstands. And sure, the dressing room facilities weren't as good as they would get at the MCG or the SCG. So what? Suck it up for 4 days and take the game out to where it can be seen. It's not rocket science. And for the blokes who may play one game and they say, oh, no, I want to play on the SCG because I may never make the team again, and so I want to be able to say that I played on the SCG. So, mate, lighten up, get a life.
Yeah.
Take it out to the country areas. Look, the pitches have got to be good.
Yeah.
The facilities do have to be good. They can't be playing on ant bed pitches.
Yeah.
But all the grounds are good now. There is no reason Newcastle shouldn't be able to host a game.
Yeah.
They should have had a big bash game.
Yeah.
It's whether it's politics, it's very frustrating for those of us that love the game of cricket and you're trying to build and grow the game. Well, you put it on where people can see it.
Yeah. God, I remember they used to play, this would be early 80s too, they played a match at Townsend Oval. I think it was like Tui sponsored it. I think Doug Walters played, the War Brothers played. I think Mark Waugh hit a 6 over the old green room.
I played in that game.
Did you? Oh,
because I played in that
I didn't
game.
know that.
Now, as soon as you said Mark Waugh hit a 6 out of the ground.
Yeah.
He hits a lot of sixes out of a lot of grounds.
Yeah.
But now, Mark Waugh played, and if it's the same game, he hit – Mark Curry was bowling.
Right.
Mark Curry was bowling his left-arm orthodox, and Mark Waugh has hit this shot over mid-on.
Yes,
and
that's the shot.
By the time Mark Waugh was batting at what was then the green room end.
Yeah.
And he hit this 6 out of Townsend Oval, and I swear by the time the ball went over the fence, it was so far away. He played with a white ball; it looked like a golf ball. It was that far away.
Did Mark Curry ever live it down?
Well, he certainly hasn't. Every time I see him, which is pretty regularly, it's always a line.
Every time you play golf, you go, does this remind you of something?
Yeah, look, it comes up. It still comes up in conversation because it's just an effortless shot. But Gordon Greenidge played in that game.
That's right. Yes.
Gordon Greenidge played in that game.
It was a
and
star.
You know why I remember it?
Townsend Oval.
I remember it so well. Everyone's got a story about themselves in these matches.
Yeah.
For some reason, Greg Arms, who was the Newcastle captain, decided to bowl me open the bowling downwind and bowl Murray Christie, his Waratah teammate, up into the wind. And Murray was a good yard, good yard quicker than me.
yeah.
For some reason, Greg thought on this occasion, no, we'll bowl Murray into the wind. So I get the wind. And it's steaming down. It's a nice grassy wicket at Townsend and a nice cool night. I don't think I've ever bowled quicker. I had every single thing going for me that night.
Yeah.
I actually beat Gordon Greenidge outside off stump twice. And, he hasn't nicked them, but just to do that, have a little flirt outside off stump and go past. These are the things that other people, go, that's no big deal. He missed one. Oh. Well, no, he missed two, and he was a fantastic player for so long for the West Indies. You don't forget that. So I don't forget the two play and misses from Gordon Greenwich. I don't forget the satellite that Mark Wall launched off Mark Curry's bowling either.
Yeah, I want you to send this podcast to
Please.
Mark Curry.
Just make a little clip, David, of that little bit. And just put it on a little tile and I'll send it to him.
But it's funny you mentioned a few players there. I mean, Greg Arms, I played one season at Waratah. I was only 16. I only played seconds and thirds, but this is when the Arms brothers were there at their peak. And honestly, the training sessions was like a shield session. You came home buggered, which is the way, you want to train. But places like people like Greg Arms, Curry, even Greg Geese, what a player.
Greg Geese is, I still think he's the most talented batsman that I've seen because he played for New South Wales. He had 8 games for New South Wales. I still think he's the most talented batsman I've seen that didn't play Test cricket.
I think he played more one-dayers for New South Wales than actual.
He may well
order.
have, but you're right about Greg Arms, very professional, hard-nosed, professional type, very, very much into training hard, playing hard, and a terrific batsman. Mark Curry the same. These are the players who were playing. These were the leading players when I was playing. And Mark also an outstanding player for a long period of time, and they both played at a very high level. But Greg Geese, the difference I think between those two and Greg Geese was that Greg could destroy you in 10 overs. Oh. He could just destroy you. Your figures could easily be none for 60 if Geese is on his game, and he could win Wall's End a game in a very short period of time.
I was about to say, if you turn up to Wall's End Oval playing for Belmont, or even probably was it later years with Newcastle City, and Wall's End win the toss, the good deck, the bat on, Wall's End's batting, Greg Geese, you're thinking you're in for a long day.
Yeah. I saw him play an innings in Sydney. It was at the SCG, and it was one of those days that I wish there was more people there because it was a Newcastle game playing against the Sydney one-day champions. Newcastle had won the country championships. Sydney team Gordon had won the Sydney first grade one-day champions. So we got to play off down there. Wet wicket, shouldn't have played. They had to get the covers off and roll the pitch. We were no chance of playing. And someone said, oh, look, we've got to play. Toss the coin. And Newcastle gets sent in. They've got 3 state fast bowlers. 3, Jones, Adlam, Stobo, all played for New South Wales, and they're playing for Gordon. We're 1 for 4, and Greg Geese goes out to bat and starts dancing down the wicket to these blokes and flat batting them across to...
No helmet.
No helmet. He'd play these flat bat pull shots off his chest, cutting... at a rate of knots, if they were a little bit wide, up over this, and then just down the ground. It didn't matter what they did. It didn't matter what they did, what the wicket was doing. He just wouldn't have a bar of it. He said, I'm just going to take these blokes apart. As good as they were, and he did take them apart, and he made 70, and the hair is standing up on the back of my neck now just recounting this because it was an extraordinary innings that only very few of us got to see.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget it. It was he just nailed these blokes to the wall. I bet they don't forget it.
I bet. And also too, even grade cricket back then. I remember grade cricket in Sydney in the early 80s. Imagine turning up, you're playing Bankstown. You got Jeff Thompson at one end and Lenny Pascoe at the other. Like,
well, the story goes there because Lenny Pascoe played a lot of cricket for Australia, and he fiery fast bowler. But in those days, the story goes that grade batsmen would try to get on strike when Lenny was bowling so they didn't have to face Tomo. They thought because there's a difference in pace that was quite, because Lenny was fast and Tomo was lightning. Yeah.
Well, it's funny, a quick story. When I worked at Channel 10, I used to have to sit next to Matt Burke, the Wallaby. ex-Wallaby, and he always talked about this story where he got picked in some celebrity match, and this is Lenny Pascoe's, he's not playing anymore, but his competitive streak was still there. So Matt, considers himself a batsman. He's opening the bat, and he goes, first one, he goes, I didn't even see it, it's just gone straight past my ears. And Lenny just did the follow-through, walked straight up to him and said, Berkey, I'll do you a favour. Stand on your fucking stumps because I'm going to knock your head off the next one. He goes, this is a charity game.
Stand on your stumps. Well, if you're in that position, I don't know how, if you're a former Wallaby, well, haven't been playing a lot of cricket.
But you have interviewed a lot of people. I mean, there was a function you did, I think, with the very first Shield team. Was it the one?
Yeah.
The New South Wales got that? Rick McCosker and all that. That was a great team as well.
This particular lunch deserved. They had. I'll just tell you who was there. It was the New South Wales side that had won the Sheffield Shield in Western Australia.
That's right.
And Western Australia were red hot favourites.
Yep.
Okay, on their home deck, on their home pitch, at the Wacker.
Yep.
And this team, New South Wales, went across. Rick McCosker was the captain, and they went across and they won.
Yep.
New South Wales won. So the team has a 40-year reunion, and they come up to Newcastle. There were 80 people at this lunch, Caney. There should have been 400.
Yeah.
And every player, you've got on the screen there, Trevor Chappell, Steve Rickson, Murray Bennett.
Yep.
I mean, Rick McCosker's there, Mike Whitney's there,
Greg
Jeff
Matthews.
Lawson, Greg Matthews, John Dyson, all of them played Test cricket.
Yeah.
What a team!
Yep.
What a great team!
I think I watched that because it was actually on ABC television. I think they actually televised that. And back then, remember, you just had one camera at one end, so you're watching the bowler come in, and the next one you're watching the bowler running towards us. Back then, but you met your future wife at Howe Park near the cricket nets. This is staying on the cricket theme.
Yeah. Well, that's not entirely right.
Oh.
That's not entirely
Oh,
right.
you first laid eyes on her.
I think so. Yes. It was either at Howe Park. It was either at Howe Park or at the local pool, but I didn't get to meet Louise until cricket one day, and I think it was down at what was then the number one ground at Cook Park in Singleton, because I played with Louise's father, Pat, and Pat was the captain. Pat was the captain of our cricket side, and I was in that team. And he was a man not to be meddled with, Pat Kelly. Anyone who followed rugby league in Group 21 in the 1970s would remember Pat Kelly, because Pat was the captain coach of Singleton in Group 21. He also played for Group 21. He played for Northern Division in the front row and had 8 games for Manly in first grade in Sydney, signed by Ken Arthurson. So when you're starting with the idea of you might ask Pat Kelly's daughter out, you want to be really thinking hard about it. And only later did I find out that no one had ever asked Louise out because no one actually had the courage because they might see her be confronting Pat. But look, one of the nicest blokes of all. I think he respected me for actually fronting up.
The only one.
Yeah. Tom, yeah.
I'll just give you, before we get off cricket, a quick Rick McCosker story. I'm an apprentice carpet layer for Borsch Carpets at Adamstown. We get a job at Charlestown. Look at the paperwork. It's McCosker.
Mm-hmm. Could only be one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he might have been still playing for Lambton New Lambton at the time. He was an accountant, I think, and he was working in town, but he wasn't there. So anyway, I'm moving the stuff, and open the cupboard. It's a baggy green. Couldn't help myself.
Had to put it on.
Oh, come on.
Does Rick know about this?
No,
He will now.
No.
I see him quite regularly.
Well, actually,
he will now. I'll have to be telling him.
You know what? I don't know. I may have, because I interviewed him when he was the pastor up at the church.
Yeah.
And I may have told him, I don't know. But, you got a baggy green, you got to put it on.
Yeah, even if it's not yours. and the owner is out of the house. But he will know about it because I see him regularly, and I will let him know.
Okay. You're a Midnight Oil fan.
Yes.
How many concerts you been to?
I was thinking about this the other day. I would say 20, maybe.
Wow.
20. And every single one of them were great shows. You know how, and I mean that. That's not just a throwaway line because I like Midnight Oil.
Yeah.
It's, you will see every band can have an off night,
Yeah.
you know, and they're not quite as good as they were the time before, or, you know, someone's just off the pace a little bit, whether it's the singer, the guitar player, not as much energy. Never with the Oils. Always great.
Yeah, but I actually asked you this through the week. It's probably what rejogged your memory. But I thought you would have been at the Newcastle Relief concert for the earthquake because they were there. I thought you would have been front and centre for that. I mean, I think we got pictures of that.
I missed that. I don't know why. Because if I was in Newcastle, I would have been there. If I was in Newcastle, but I mustn't have been in town.
Yeah.
Because usually when it says Midnight Oil on, I'm front and centre.
What's the gig you loved the most? Where was it?
Look, I was there for their very last gig, Hordern Pavilion, about 3 years ago. I've seen some fantastic Midnight Oil shows, but I've probably got to say that one. And considering the band now, and Peter Garrett's pushing 70, and the band are all, they're late 60s. They were so tight. Together as musicians. That's the thing that people have got to remember about Midnight Oil. It's not just a few guitarists and Rob Hurst on the drums banging out some tunes so Peter Garrett can get animated and dance and have this powerful, unique voice. No, the whole band are great. Yeah. But that last show at the Hordern Pavilion, they played for 3 hours.
Wow.
They played for 3 hours. The back catalogue that Midnight Oil have is extensive. When you're playing for 40 years, you've racked up a lot of music, and they just kept playing. And you knew every song. It was just a phenomenal night.
Peter Garrett sent you a telegram, didn't he, when you finished up at ABC? Was that right?
Peter Garrett sent me a message.
It wasn't about you didn't get to your house for the home insulation package.
No. Too soon, Caney. It's always too soon for that. Cut. Peter very generously sent me a message, video message on my last day, because our paths had crossed in a number of ways over the years. Like I'd been to all the shows. I'd never met Peter at a show. I met him. He came up to Blacksmiths to do a wetlands talk, I think, many years ago, which I went out to, and we met and I interviewed him at that. But the one I remember was I was doing one of the other programs at the ABC. I think it might have been the morning program or breakfast when Peter was Education Minister, when he'd gone into politics. Yep. And so I'm doing the introduction, or I'd been talking, and he's on hold, which your guest is. And he says to the producer, I know this bloke's voice. He said, I follow the Sharks, or I follow the whoever. Listen to him all the time. He calls the NRL.
You would have puffed your chest out of that.
Yeah, I thought, well,
that's up there with the Dennis. That would be up there with the Dennis Lilly moment.
Look, it's nice. It's great, but to hear that, but that we obviously exalted heights that Midnight Oil reached, but to know the bloke who's doing the singing had actually heard some of the stuff I'd done was good.
Well, I was going to say you're a budding pianist, aren't you? You've been
Where do you get this stuff?
You've been trying to learn Never Tear Us Apart, teaching yourself on YouTube. I think we've actually got a picture of there it is. I climbed through the window today to get that.
No, you didn't. And you know why? Because I don't have that piano anymore. I do have one, but it's not that one. But no, I can play it. I can. Where's the piano?
Well, we would have had a keyboard here for you.
I can play Never Tear Us Apart.
I've still got the ukulele from the other night where Craig McLaughlin played it on stage.
Look, I can't play much. I can play. I did teach myself Never Tear Us Apart by In Excess. I can play that on the keyboard, and I can play Crocodile Rock as well.
But isn't it great? That's one thing I'm not a musician at all, but I would love to have learnt the piano early because you ever go to a place, there's a party, and someone gets on the keys, and the whole place just stops.
Yeah.
You could be the ugliest bloke in the room, and the chicks are all over you, or because you can play a bloody piano. Obviously, that didn't work,
Mate, well, you must be going to a different places that I go to.
Just staying on the ABC, you talked about. Do you miss broadcasting? I know that you probably don't miss the grind of Saturday morning, 6 hours, the longest breakfast show in history, but more the actual sideline stuff.
Look, I got over it pretty quick if I did miss it. And look, I was ready to go when I left the ABC.
Why did you leave the ABC?
Oh, for a number of reasons. I'd had enough. I was well and truly into my mental health work, and there were a lot of things that the ABC were doing in by the way we were working by that stage and had been for a decade, which there was a far more online presence. There was a far more social media presence as well as just broadcasting. If it was just the pure science of broadcasting, I could still be there doing it. But the other stuff and the politics, I was well and truly over that. And I thought, I've got something else I can go to, and it's time for me to go.
You want to talk about the politics?
Oh, you could start. How long have you got? How long have you got?
Mate, this is a long-form podcast.
The politics within the ABC is probably no different than the politics under other huge bureaucracies. You know, it's a big organisation. There's a lot of people that work for the ABC. Everyone's trying to do their best. There's a lot of pressure put on that comes from above down to the workplace and onto the employees, the people who are actually doing the work. I think that could be managed better and should have been managed better from a higher level of management.
Do you feel like from the start, when you first got there, you were loving it. Over time, you've got to the point where you're not liking it.
I probably loved broadcasting for 23 years of my 25, and then for the final 2, I didn't really enjoy it much unless I was behind a microphone.
Yeah.
Always happy when I was behind a microphone.
Yeah. At Elk Architecture, we don't just design buildings, we shape the spaces where life happens. From concept to construction, our award-winning architects bring our vision to life with precision, passion, and purpose. Whether it's your dream home or your next big commercial project, trust Elk Architecture to build what matters most. Elk Architecture, designed for life, built for the future. You wrote a book, Broken Open. I tried to buy one yesterday.
Oh, it's very difficult to get because it's just...
They didn't have them.
Well, it's selling out everywhere.
I'm thinking, mate, that's another $29.95 you're not going to get. But in regards to that, I mean, I don't read too many books. The 3 books I've read is obviously my own because I had to sub it. Your Broken Open and also Walk Alone. And funnily enough, Neil Jamison wrote Walk Alone as well. He was a brilliant writer,
Brilliant writer, Neil. Yeah, he worked with Craig Johnson on Walk Alone, and he worked with me on Broken Open.
He's sort of person that you would have known him for over the years, but he gets in your head to the point where he's writing and he knows pretty much exactly what you're thinking. Is that would be a fair? Which isn't an easy thing.
Well, it was seamless to work with Neil on Broken Open. We'd sit down very much like you and I are. We didn't have big microphones in front of us, but we'd go to a coffee shop while we're going through the process of getting Broken Open on the shelves, and Neil would have his tape recorder, and we would just sit and talk. And he'd be firing questions, and at the back end of that day, we knew we would have the structure from that conversation would be a chapter, because we'd focused in on what we were going to talk about that day. He would do it up in a Word document, email it to me. I would read it. This was the process, and then make any changes that I saw fit that didn't, on the occasions where he didn't capture my voice, and I thought, no, that doesn't sit right. That was very rare, because that's the skill that he has, and it's just he did an incredible job on the book.
I remember reading the excerpt. It was in the Newcastle Herald. It was a Saturday morning, and I was sitting at Empire Park on just a park bench overlooking the Oval, and I just read it, and because even though I knew you, I didn't know that story. I didn't know you went through that, like a lot of people. But it was almost like it was compelling reading and shocking as well at the same time. That's probably the reaction you would have got from a lot of people.
Yeah, it was. It was a shocking thing. It was a shocking thing to experience. And it took 4 years to get to a point where I could share it publicly, being severely depressed and experiencing suicidal thinking is shocking. And to come out of the back of that and then experience a manic episode can be shocking. And then to experience psychosis is shocking. And terrible experiences to get to a point where you can, okay, I can share this. I can write about this. And, that took about 4 years.
And the one thing about that book, it'll outlive you, won't it?
Yeah.
Which is maybe a sad thing too, isn't it, when you think about it?
No, I don't know.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, I suppose there's going to be suicide. I mean, you're not going to stop it completely, but this is a way of helping, isn't it?
Exactly. And that's the reason it was written. That's the reason it was written. It was the reason my second book was written. It was the reason the documentary's been made, is to make a difference and to, to say, oh, yeah, we're going to stop suicide and people taking their lives. I think that's a bit presumptuous, because that's not going to happen. But if you can be part of the solution to this problem, then do it. And not everyone's going to do it, and that's fine, but I chose to do it.
And you were brought up on a dairy farm in Singleton, and it's hard being a farmer. And again, doing the rounds just with the promise, you'd be getting to speak to a lot of people, rural folk. Dairy farmers in general, I mean, all farmers in general, they're all doing it tough with so many different reasons, which can cause mental illness. So you'd be right at the coalface of speaking to those sort of people, that they're a bit of an affinity more than anyone, the fact that you grew up on a farm.
Well, there's two things with that. When you travel and you show the documentary that we are, and I've been speaking in country areas for 20 years as a speaker, very remote rural communities. I was always and I was also a coal miner. So I'm going into coal mining communities as well. So I've got an immediate introduction to the locals if they're coal miners, and I've got an immediate connection with the farmers as well, because I've got a farming background. And look, it doesn't matter. The coal miners do it tough at times. The farmers do it tough. Anyone can do it tough. It doesn't matter what they do for a living. Farming is a challenging one because it relies so much on the weather. And when you go through a drought, it just magnifies everything to the nth degree. So if you're struggling with your mental health and then a drought continues and becomes months and years long, that's incredibly testing for people on the land. And the same thing happens when there's floods, and there's been some terrible floods in New South Wales and Queensland in the not too distant past.
Yeah. I remember a few years that I worked for NBN, we went to Dungog to do a story on a dairy farm. There was a sad story because the cameraman was telling me at the time, he said, mate, there used to be 56 dairy farms in Dungog. There's only 9 now, maybe less now. That's going back over 10 years ago. But we got to this house and it was the story was actually about a new irrigation system that they'd been putting in. That was what the story was. So we get there and we're unloading and the wife came out and she just starts talking, like, how's life, how's everything? She broke down within the first 5 minutes. And it was like, wow, you know. And apparently she said, see that? They'd built a house, but there's an old house on the top of the hill. She said, see that house up on the hill? I said, yeah. She said, that's where we used to live. And I said, okay. She said, a few weeks ago, something drew me up there. I don't know what drew me up there, but something made me go up there. And as I got to the door of this old house that we used to live in, I opened the door and my son jumped off the chair. I saved his life. It still makes me, you know. And she said, I don't, and she had another, son that she said he went to Afghanistan and came back, PTSD. And she said, these are kids that grew up on a farm on quad bikes. There was nothing to worry about. And for the son in that house, he did that because he was seeing the struggles of what his parents are going through with the farm struggling. So the fact that suicide can happen, I suppose one step away from the actual cause or the reason for what they're doing it. Not they're just seeing someone going through some trauma or crisis can trigger that.
Of course. And that's the key word with all of this, trauma. It's trauma. And we all experience traumatic experiences in our lives. No one skates through, a life with no trauma. But if it's ongoing and unrelenting, it can really sear your psyche and come back and visit in ways like severe depression, like post-traumatic stress disorder, as can childhood traumas. Childhood traumas from the age of 3 to 10 can be profound and impact later on the 40-year-old. That little boy is still in that 40-year-old and that can have a huge impact. So trauma, unresolved, unrecognised, untreated, unspoken, is something we need to address with all of this stuff because particularly, if you look at you mentioned our return soldiers with post-traumatic stress disorder, the suicide rate with our defence forces, they've seen things that no one should see. They've been in situations that no one will ever be in, and they come back, and largely they're just expected to integrate back into normal life. It doesn't work that way. It's not that simple. Some people are more resilient and can get on with their lives. Some people are really sensitive souls, and there's really sensitive souls who go to war, and they're sort of mixed, thrown into the same tub, if you like. And so do your best, and a lot of it is sink or swim. And some swim, and others sink.
Well, predate the railway episode in 2000. You went into depression before that, then diagnosed with bipolar 1 after that. You can't be born with bipolar. There's vulnerability to it. It can develop from things, as we mentioned, stress and trauma. But what was the cause for you? Because from the outside looking in, people are going, you're having a great life. You've gone from being a coal miner, you've hit the jackpot, and it's very hard to get into the media landscape, probably much more now, but even then it was hard. Life's looking great. You're a sideline reporter. You're interviewing big names. Life's great. Was there a trauma years ago which would have triggered this?
Well, I came from farming background. Now, I talk a little in the film about the struggles my mum had. And Mum was diagnosed with bipolar after I was. So I was diagnosed just before I was 40. Mum wasn't diagnosed until she was in her mid-60s. And there's a genetic link with these illnesses. So I suppose I was a candidate I was a candidate genetically from that point on through my childhood. And as I said, we all have our traumas, whether it's bullying, whether it's emotional harassment, whether it's some of the big T traumas like assault, sexual assault. Well, I didn't have any of the big T traumas, but we all get bumped and bruised along the way. What triggers something like that? It can be anything. As far as that manic episode, all of this stuff's got nothing to do with how successful you are either. I'll make that point very clearly. People say, "Oh, how could you be depressed because you are such and such, or you have done all of these great things, and you are living at such a high life?" Got nothing to do with it. Really hasn't. Doesn't matter. So many very successful people have had really traumatic times with their mental health. A great event like just about going to represent the ABC at the Olympic Games can be a trigger as well.
Yeah.
And that became, I suppose, the ultimate trigger. It doesn't have to be something that's perceived as being a negative thing.
Yeah, right.
This was the pinnacle of my career as a broadcaster, to be doing this work. But that when it becomes the emotion around it, the emotion around the whole thing for someone who was already a stirring pot with his mental health, could be the massive trigger that sends me over the top.
I mean, question, do you believe in God?
My faith is much stronger now than ever. And when you say, do you believe in God? My answer to that is, do I believe in something far bigger than all of us? Yes, whatever you want to call that. It makes no sense. Life to me makes no sense if it's just us bobbing around here doing our best. We're made up with so many atoms, there's so many other things. Open your eyes and just see. You just look at nature. It's absolutely incredible. Take some time to do that and look at the stars at night and look at the moon, and then just look back at and see how tiny we are. And I think where you start to grow as a person, and certainly start to grow spiritually, is the moment you can see something bigger than yourself. And that's what I say to anybody. If they're struggling with their mental health or with their lives, the first place I say, well, think of something bigger than yourself, something bigger. And that's not to dismiss in any way or belittle the experience for the individual, but if you can take yourself from that point and put yourself into a situation that is bigger than you, then that's a great thing. So, do I believe in God? I'm definitely a spiritual person and far more open now in terms of my faith than ever.
The reason I ask you that is that, and I've thought about this, and I've never heard anyone ask you this, and I might be right off the bend here, but and we're talking in hindsight, because in that book on the platform, you thought you were Jesus Christ reincarnated. You're going to the Sydney Olympics to deliver a message to the world. In a weird way, this has happened to you. You are now delivering a message. It's almost like, if you were religious, some people would look at that and say, well, that was God telling you. God did that to be doing what you're doing now. Have you ever thought of that? Because you really are making a clear message. You're going everywhere, telling them about your experience, which is going to help people.
I think we all have an opportunity in our lives, and some people are shoved into it and some people are belted into it, and I think I'm in that category, belted into it, to live their fullest life and live their best life and live a life that will help others and make a difference. And make a difference for others and be as influential as you can possibly be for others and making life better, because there's a lot of shitty things that happen in life. So I like to be able to be part of that, and I don't think I certainly never would have been part of that And that wouldn't have even been in my mindset had these events not happened. I would have been just strolling along, becoming being a broadcaster.
Yeah.
So I never thought I'd write one book. I never thought I'd become mentally ill. I never thought I'd write one book about it. I certainly didn't think I'd write two, and I definitely didn't think I'd ever feature in a documentary.
Yeah.
But what is coming from this, I'm just, there's a book that Wayne Bennett talks about. He called his book "Don't Die with the Music in You."
Mm.
Live by that.
Yeah.
Don't die with the music in you. If you've got something to offer, whether it's you, whether it's David, whether it's someone listening to this and watching this podcast, if you've got something to give, then give it.
Mm.
What are you going to do? Sit on the lounge watching Netflix with some incredible gift that you could be making a difference in someone else's life and at the same time bettering your own life because you will, then look at life that way.
See, I look at it, I mean, and I'm not religious, so I'm not pushing this religious angle with Jesus. But Jesus made a sacrifice for everyone to be better going on. It feels like, do you feel like, obviously you wish you didn't
Do I
go,
still think I'm Jesus Christ? No, definitely not.
No, I know
There's only one. The last time I checked.
But what I'm saying is, do you wish that didn't happen, or do you say this happened, but in my life now I'm actually doing so much good that probably wouldn't have happened if that didn't happen? Does that make sense?
It makes absolute sense. A lot of times I've been asked, do you regret that happened? Are you sorry that happened? Do you wish that didn't happen? I don't live with regret. It happened. It's what you do next in your life that matters. It's what you do next. We all get dealt, bad cards at some stage, I live by if you get handed lemonade, if you get handed lemons in life, make lemonade with those lemons. And so that's what that's how I try to live, If I have a bad day today or something happens, it's how you respond to that. How am I going to respond to that? Am I going to kick stones about it, or am I going to deal with it and move on with a better attitude, with a good attitude about it?
Mm. You have a signed Kathy Freeman portrait at home when she won the gold medal.
Have you been casing my joint for this? Or did you make these notes when you were doing the carpets?
This is preparation. Do you look at that photo and then go, is it a weird thing? Because again, you're sort of going, I would have been there.
Yeah.
Do you look back and...
Well, I don't look back very often.
Yeah.
This is the thing. I watched the race. I watched Kathy Freeman win the race, the 400 in Sydney. I just happened to be in a psychiatric ward when I watched it, and that's part of the talk that I give when I go and speak at conferences, schools, workplaces. I tell the story.
Yeah.
I got to see Kathy Freeman win the 400, win the gold medal at the Sydney Olympics. I was just sitting in a psychiatric ward when I watched it. If you want to be humbled, that's how you get humbled.
Yeah. That would have been the scariest place on earth going in there. It
wasn't great. It wasn't great.
The Promise, a brilliant doco, a must watch. Caught up with Jai Curry yesterday by accident. Incredible filmmaker, and we had him on the podcast as well. He's really come along for the ride, hasn't he, with this, in regards to pushing it. We've got, an excerpt from it. I'll ask the question after we show this.
Looking at the Hunters weather now, sunny with light winds. Newcastle 24 degrees. You're up to date with ABC News.
Well, if you've been listening to ABC, you'd have to remember a bloke by the name of Craig Hamilton. He's been touring Australia talking about suicide.
The life I lived before 2000 compared to the life I lead now, it's like it's two different people. Oh, suicidal.
8 Australians die every day by suicide.
There's more conversations and awareness and education around mental health and suicide than there ever has been. Yet we're dying more than ever.
Loneliness, social isolation is huge. People are craving for connection, craving for that, being human.
This is what we haven't done. We've danced around mental illness and depression, but we've never really articulated that the worst possible outcome is when someone takes their life.
He's someone that we probably wouldn't think it had happened to. That's one of the fallacies with it. We think, these guys are so strong and it wouldn't happen to them, but that's not the case at all.
I think if we all shifted our attitudes and we shifted the culture around mental health, we could be intervening before it's at that crisis point.
When someone asks for help, it is the bravest and the hardest thing they will ever do.
Sometimes having a conversation, being able to speak about it, is all it takes.
One conversation can change a life. One conversation can save a life. I'm Clarke Hamilton, and today I make the promise.
Jai done an incredible job with that.
He did.
Just with Jai, I mean, most producers would do a film, put all their heart and soul in it, which he did, and most of them just sort of go, that's my baby, next project. But he's not. He's with you doing the talks, and it's hitting him in the face too, isn't it? You know, especially when the conversation after the documentary in regards to people asking questions, not just you, to him as well. It's probably a shock for him.
Well, it was initially because you're right. Jai and I have toured the documentary. I worked it out the other day. We've done 25 screenings now in different towns and cities since the premiere 2 years ago. We've been to 4 states and right down the East Coast. We've screened 3 times in Newcastle, and I think it was one of the Sydney screenings, one of the first ones in Sydney, which Jai, afterwards we do a panel discussion. There's usually 3-4 people on the panel, and then afterwards mingling with people.
Yeah.
And it was Jai's first experience of people actually coming up to him and having a conversation with him one-on-one about their struggles, because they knew he'd directed the film and they'd seen him in the question and answer section of the program on the panel, and they would come up and just tell him in full colour, raw, traumatic stories. And he said to me on the way home, he said, I don't know how you do it. So I don't know how you do it. He said, I'm just exhausted by this. And I said, it takes time, and it takes some practice, and it takes a self-awareness to be able to do it and not exhaust you. And it used to exhaust me early in the piece, but I learnt, a way to make sure that I didn't take whatever those conversations were and the contents of those conversations away with me. Otherwise, I'd be exhausted.
It sounds like you're great mates now. I think we've got some pics of you. You really formed this bond now that will never be broken.
Yeah, no, we're terrific. We're terrific mates. We spent quite a bit of time together, and you got to remember, Jai's 15 years younger than me, which is, that's a fair bit.
Yeah. I mean, just with
he's actually 30 years younger than me. But see, he'll hate that. He will hate the fact that you've just moved on, and I've slipped that in. That he's 15 years. He's 30.
Nothing surprises, mate.
Jai is 30 and I'm 62, so he's 32 years younger. And I've said with a straight bat, he's 15 years younger than me.
Mate, you've got to make your punchline a little bit more like direct. I didn't.
I've delivered it exactly how I wanted to, and
I'm giving you a compliment, so you don't look that old. So there you go, touche.
Poor Jai.
Staying on the suicide. Unfortunately, it does happen for many reasons and also ways. Do you also look at? Obviously you're out there sort of trying to spread the word to get people to talk. But do you actually look at sometimes trying to say there's solutions out there that if we fixed a few things, we wouldn't be, I mean, it would still be there, but we could, like take, for example, child support.
Yep.
There's some draconic rules that's really slanted one side. And you sort of think if legislations changes.
I know where you're going with this. And look, you're right. It's a very complex thing and it's very multi-layered.
Yeah.
And there are all sorts of pockets of experiences that people can go through in their lives that can create those traumas, and they can be, things like divorces, deaths in families, childcare, dads who've got no access to their kids or struggle for access to their kids. They're all factors. Financial constraints are factors.
Yeah.
Mental illness within the family are also factors. So it's multi-layered. The other thing I think that we've got to look at is the public health system. And I could sit here and do half an hour with you on the public health system. No hospital system is going to be perfect, but in terms of our mental health in the public system, you used the word draconian a minute ago.
Yeah.
It could be so much better.
Yeah.
The resources could be spent in so much better way to make sure when people are in a crisis situation and they're critically ill, then they've got a bed to go to and some and some decent resources. The heroes in the community in terms of in nursing or in in public health, in public mental health, are the staff.
Yeah,
they are the heroes. They do a fantastic job with very limited resources. Limited is the word.
Yeah.
They could be supported so much better than they are. And look, all of those things, if we could have a look at all of those things,
well, that's the thing.
And the addressing of trauma
Yeah.
in childhood and making sure it's not then followed by more trauma down the line, and then it becomes intergenerational trauma.
Yeah.
And if you want to know more about that, look up Dr. Gabor Mate. I'm not going to steal his thunder. He's been doing it for years.
But that's the thing too. Even at the end of these premieres, people come up to you and you could probably go down a rabbit hole with what you just mentioned. But it's almost, is that hard where you've just got to say, well, no, I'm just here for this. If I can't change those things as much as you'd like. Because I suppose every case is different. It's like a different pigeonhole for it
is, and rabbit hole's the perfect way to describe it. That's what it is. There's so many rabbit holes you can go down with any of those questions and any of those scenarios. You could go down those rabbit holes and not come back up for air for a while. So I know what I can give someone in a conversation. I listen more than talk, because many times people just want to talk.
Yeah.
They want to have someone listen to them. They've seen the film and they know that I'm very open about my own experiences, and they feel more confident being open about their own experiences.
Yeah.
So I'm just prepared to listen. But those conversations can't go on for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
There's other people that might like to have a conversation and have a chat.
And that must be hard to try and cut them off.
You do your best. You do your best, but you can't be, and I learnt this a long time ago, you cannot please everybody and be everything for everyone. Otherwise, you'll end up exhausted and you'll be no good to anybody.
Well, just with that, after a night of that, and I'm thinking of Jai here too, is it a case at the end of the night you have a bit of a debrief?
Oh, we not a formal debrief. We don't sit there and have a discussion about the night. We talk more about how the film is received, and because we're always in there, we're in there in the audience as well, and so we get a fair indication of how the film is being received by the audience. It's a multi-layered film, and you talked about Broken Open. Having a purpose and having a role down the track long past my days, I think the film will as well.
Yeah.
I think And I say that because it covers so many aspects of mental ill health, depression, suicidal ideation. It also tells some honest stories of other people and other family members who have lost people in their families to suicide.
The only reason I mentioned the debrief, it jogged my memory. I did a story on the Central Coast with NBN. It was the Lifeline, and I did a story about the people that answering these calls are going home with this shit in their head, and there's no one to talk to.
Yeah.
And they had a counsellor in, like it was a special session to talk to the counsellor. These are little things, I suppose, first responders, any type of, the police, ambulance, fireys that turn up to these places, and they just got to go home and do another shift the next day.
I think that's changed.
Yeah,
I think that's changed, and it needs to. And what we do when we screen the film is we have people who are skilled professionals who can provide counselling and support after the film screens, because it's a difficult film to watch.
Yeah.
It's not a stroll in the park, the Promise, and we make a point of saying that because it was not. We just didn't want to sugarcoat it.
This isn't just a gym, it's where limits get broken. A place where community comes together, sweat turns into strength, and every drop is progress. No excuses, no egos, just results. Join Fitstop Newcastle today, a start to a better you. One thing that's prominent constantly in the media at the moment, social media. You're not against it, but it's more about the overuse of it, isn't it?
My view on social media is it's getting clearer for me every day. It's the genie's out of the bottle, number one. So it's not for those who think we can pack it away and squeeze it back in a bottle. Not going to happen. It's out there. Same as the internet when the internet first started. With social media, there's so many great things that we can access on social media, on all the social media platforms. Some fantastic things. The downside is that it can be a toxic environment as well, absolutely toxic, and we can see the worst of humanity on social media as well. So we have the power, each of us, to choose what we consume. And that's where we've got to wise up. And we can choose what we're going to watch and what we're going to engage in. So I actually did an audit of my feed on Instagram only in the last 2 months. I went back, I trolled through all of the things that I was following. And I looked back and it was eye-opening. I thought, what am I following this for? Unfollow. And I went through and I think there was about 500 unfollows. And now I'm very specific about who I follow because the algorithm's pretty simple. What you follow, you're going to get more of and you're going to get less of the things you choose not to have. You're basically inviting some of this toxic crap into your living space is what you're doing. And if it's not entertaining me, educating me, inspiring me, motivating me, and showing me a way, giving me some way to be better myself and, achieve other things and make a difference, if it's not ticking all those boxes, I'm not looking at it.
Dave, can you just check whether Hamo's scrubbed us off the list?
I was about to ask, did we make the cut? Not get cut.
I don't know. You could have.
Well, you won't be watching you next week. AI, that's another thing that's that's another stress in life, isn't it? I mean, and AI, we talk about AI all the time. I know Dave goes, oh, it's happening and it's only like 5 or 10% of what it could be.
Yeah.
I see that as a real drama with mental health in regards to what people are looking at, and not people are not looking at something that they don't know whether it's real or not.
Yeah.
And putting that stress in their head.
Before we get on to AI, you've just hit me with a light bulb moment with social media and with mental health.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a real problem, mental health reaction to social media posts for some very vulnerable, sensitive teenage kids, and we've seen it. We've seen it. Some of these situations have ended up with tragic loss of life to suicide. And it comes back again to an education process whereby our kids, I think, we need to say, look, what are you looking at? You know, have a conversation. What are you looking at? And if it can be something as simple as the comparison problem, you know. Kids can look at someone's posts, some of their friends on social media, and they're all glossy images. They're all buffed up.
Yep.
They're all, you know, beautifully tanned and presented. Just not real. It's not a real picture of, you know, it's been photoshopped to within an inch of its life. And these kids are very, you know...
Keep up with the Joneses.
Keep up with the Joneses. And it's that comparison thing then. I'm not that good. I'm not as pretty as her. I'm not as strong as him. I don't look like that. So therefore I'm less. I'm less. I'm not worthy. Then you get the compounding effect of the bullying.
Yeah.
The bullying comes in on over the top of that, and it's 24/7 on social media. If you're on your phone, on your social media, and it can be 2:00 in the morning, you'd be engaging with someone who could be absolutely delivering some toxic untruths to you. So this is where that awareness is critical. Onto AI, well, that's another subject. I honestly, Caney, don't know enough about it to give you any sort of insights.
I just find I used to watch look at a lot of Twitter. I still do, but not as much now. Mainly because you're seeing videos come up, and you go, "Wow, what a great video!" But then you're going, "That couldn't be real." And what I'm sort of trying to say is that, you know, there's things in, you know, like videos that could pop up which could trigger things in people's lives, or the Chinese, president might want to press the button, oh my God, but it was just a fake.
Just a fake, yeah.
That sort of thing.
News.
And that's a.
Well, you've only got to look. Look, it's there, and some of the really crappy AI videos, when you've got a prominent world figure and they're sitting there and they're saying something in their own voice, which we now know the technology allows for these bites of all the things they've said. And the people who say a lot of things all the time, like the presidents of different countries and the sports stars of different countries, they say enough words that computers can, pull them together and make them say anything. But you have a look at some of the ones they're so cheap and crappy that you can see the mouth of the person allegedly saying these words. It's rubbery. And you go, well, that's clearly a fake.
I totally get that, but I just think as years go by, it's going to get better and better. Where you're going to get a FaceTime call from your mum, and it's not even your mum. I think that's things that people are not even thinking about now. But
they should be. They should be thinking about it. But all it will do is, I think, it'll increase people's desire to have more of that one-on-one conversation, more actually be in the room instead of, communicating electronically that we do. And look, there's some wonderful things that you can do electronically now. It's made the world a lot smaller. But once you start to get into this murky ground of AI, and if it becomes, more clever, and they're able to do a lot, present a lot of fake news with it, then actually, be face to face. Watch more Incredible Lives with Caney.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you get the real, you get the real story.
Absolutely, you're hearing it today.
That'll be a promo.
I heard. No, the The Mark Curry ones are definite. I heard you do an interview when you were diagnosed with bipolar. You were sitting there, you were worrying about, you were praying that it was every other illness under the sun except that. Do you feel that's the same now? I know there's still a lot more work to be done, but do you feel there's a lot of people that still feel that in regards to the stigma and worry of being diagnosed with mental illness?
Oh, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do, because stigma's still there. And that was the only reason that I felt like that, was because I felt the stigma around any sort of mental illness was so great that I thought I'd be better off with something else, which is more palatable to...
You were hoping for cancer, weren't you?
Oh, cancer would have been good. But a heart disease. But I look back at it now and it's just ridiculous. You play the cards you got.
Yeah.
We all get dud cards, as I was saying before. You just got to play the cards you got, and it doesn't matter. We get there's so little in life that we have control over, so little. And when you spend your life just gripping onto life and hanging on like that, you're missing the chance to enjoy the whole process. I mean, certain things there you've got to keep under check, but there's so many... all of the things that we don't have control over, and we're trying to grab and hold them and find them, you can exhaust yourself.
Just the reporting of suicide, do you feel that's changed in a little way? Because I remember when I was working for NBN, it was a case of you'd call up the duty officer in the morning. Yeah, we've got someone died at the Adamstown Railway gates, and it's like, okay, it was self-harm, so you can't report it. Do you feel that over the time, by not reporting it, has been counterproductive in a way?
That's still a controversial question, which I think the jury is still out on. I think in some...
because it doesn't seem to be working, though.
Well, you're talking about method and not talking about method of taking a life. So the media policy is that, exactly that, don't report it. And if you do report it as suicide, then you don't discuss the way the suicide occurred. My view is I'm starting to lean towards it isn't working. The silence around it and the mystery around it isn't working. It's not working. So
but just saying there's 8 to 9 suicide deaths per day in Australia.
Day, yeah.
I mean, that's shocking.
And then 30 others every day that attempt suicide and they're unsuccessful.
I mean, if that was the road toll, there'd be a royal inquiry.
No, it's more than double the lives lost to suicide in Australia than road deaths every year.
There was a call you got talking about your situation. We've actually got it, Dave. I forget what interview it was. But
great to have you with us today, ABC Local Radio. Went on the ABC and I described what depression was like. So, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, anxiety, social withdrawal, negative thoughts. And a bloke rang the radio station and said, this bloke's talking about me. He's describing exactly what I'm going through. He said, I've been suicidal 5 or 6 times. My wife doesn't know. My kids don't know. My mates don't know. And I haven't been to the doctor. And this bloke just went and hung up. So the next night at the forum, we've done my talk. I'm down the front of the stage and a girl, she's about 16 and she walks to the front and she's crying. She's really upset. I said, you've done it tough. Are you depressed? And she said, no. She said, I'm fine. She said, I just came to say thanks. She said, because the man that rang up yesterday was my father. As soon as he got off the phone, he told Mum he had depression. He told all of us and we got him into a doctor.
That one really sat deep with you, didn't it?
Yeah, well, that's still one of the driving forces, that story, that 16-year-old girl, and coming to the forum that we were conducting the next night, because that conversation that I was having on the radio, her father was listening and rang up, and You just don't know about that. What would have happened had he not heard that interview?
Yeah.
But yeah, she came in, and I tell that story regularly. That's a story that motivates me and inspires me all these years later to keep going, because you don't know who's listening and hearing your story.
Do you get many going to roll out the promise? Do you see a lot of younger people in the audience, or is it
not as many as I'd like? Not as many as I'd like. We really think.
Is that something down the track you might want to try to address, like another layer?
Look, I think it's the word of mouth thing with this film. We screened the film in Kempsey earlier this year, and the vast majority of the audience was probably in the 50 to 60 age bracket. But there was a girl who was there with her mother, and the girl would have been about 18. And in the question and answer session, she put her hand up and asked a question. And she said, at the end of the question, she said, I wish all my friends were here. My friends need to see this, and their younger brothers and sisters need to see this, because they're all talking about it. Some of them are experiencing their own suicidal thoughts, and some of them have had friends who've taken their lives. She said, so we need to see this film. So I think, hopefully, that'll be the case, and we will get a younger audience to watch it.
Maybe going forward after this, would it be a younger person doing exactly what you're doing on stage, so the younger people can relate to that?
Well, we've had Bailey Seamer on stage with us. Now, Bailey is in the documentary, and Bailey lives in Caves Beach, an incredible person, diagnosed with bipolar when she was 17. She's now 24, I think, and she walked from the most southern point of Australia to the very top.
Wow.
Across a year. She took a year to do it. I thought, what an achievement to do that. And she was raising money for Black Dog Institute. So she's in the film, and she's interviewed in the film. She is the next generation of advocate, Bailey. Very, very articulate, tells her story. It's a strong story, and very relatable to, I think, kids from 15 and up.
Probably a Promise 2 on the way.
Could be, yeah.
That's a good one. I reckon Joy'd love that. Just with mental illness, it's changed over the years in regards to, I suppose, how it's been treated. I mean, my story is that my grandfather went to World War II. You know, he's in the front line, came back, and he was just a totally different person. You know, couldn't adapt back to the family life. No one could even really identify the man he was before he left. He died in Callum Park, the mental hospital in Rozelle. And you sort of look at things now in regards to medications and things like that. You know, you're born in a different time, you know, like maybe certain treatments, he wouldn't have lived that the last years of his life like that.
Treatments are better. The treatments are better. And that's a good thing. Of course it's a good thing. And there's a lot of people working on making those treatments better, making those medications better, getting better diagnosis as well. And that's all great things. That just comes with time and effort and putting money into it. But the fact is there's still plenty to do. You know, it's an ongoing thing. Yeah. It doesn't wait for anybody.
But do you think just back then, I mean, God, you just had a bad day walking down the street and they'd throw you in. Do you feel that over time that genetically within us has got to the point where we are now, where we're too frightened to say anything, stemming back from the stigma of mental illness decades and decades ago?
What do you mean too frightened?
In regards to the way humans are, it's almost like it's in our DNA where back in the day, if you were deemed to have a mental illness, you were just put away.
Yeah,
and
discriminated
the whole family was also discriminated against, not just that person. There was something wrong with that family. It's got to the point where over the decades, it's inbuilt something within us to go, we can't say this.
Well, quite possibly, but quite possibly that's the case. But it's conditioning. There's no question it's conditioning, and it's handed on generation to generation, and it's not something when 20 years ago, very few people were talking about mental health publicly. It's certainly their own stories, and now there's a lot. There's a lot out there, a lot of people out there telling stories and their own experiences, and that's a good thing because every story makes a difference.
Yeah.
Every story that's told, particularly when that story is someone who's well known, I think it makes a huge difference if they have a high profile and they go through a rough time and then they share that story, then people can look at that person and say, gee, if they're successful and they're famous and they're rich, and if it can happen to them, it can happen to me, and that's okay, you know, and it makes it more and more okay. And that's, you know, it'll be good one day if the conversation around mental health issues and raising your hand and putting yourself out there was boring. If it was boring, it'd be good because then the job's done.
Yeah.
You don't have to go and talk about it anymore because it's socially acceptable, like the common cold. There's not too many people doing podcasts about common cold. It's just, doesn't sell anything. But I think the number of people, the point I'm making is if there is enough of a groundswell and a consciousness shift to go, well, we are slow on that. And I've been saying this for a decade, that we are slow. We have been very, very slow on helping and supporting people with mental health issues because it's been too hard, and helping ourselves for that matter. We have not helped ourselves for those very reasons that it's been too hard, you know. So I want to be part of the process to change that.
Wayne Bennett, he made a good cameo in the Promise, talking about working with young men, that I suppose can't show their feelings in sport, combative sport as well. Just on Wayne, you'd probably be one of the few journos that Wayne actually likes.
I know.
Probably the only one.
Well,
he hates me.
I'm one of the few. Well, consider yourself in the majority. No, look, I've always got on with Wayne. I met Wayne in 1995. He was coaching the Broncos, and we just hit it off. We hit it off straight away. I know he respected the fact that I treated him with respect.
Yeah.
A lot of journos don't treat coaches and players with respect. They think because they have a media pass on and a microphone that there's an expectation there that not only are you going to answer my question, but you're going to give me a really good answer and one that'll make a headline tomorrow or be on, hang on.
That's me.
Or make front page news or that grab on the news. Now, they're under no obligation to do that, obligation to do that at all. And I never operated that way. And that didn't mean I didn't ask the hard questions, and I asked the hard questions of Wayne, but I didn't have an expectation of any answer that he might give me. And I think he'd have to answer the question, but I think in a lot of ways I was a breath of fresh air for him because I could still ask the hard questions, and I did right throughout the time, the 25 years that I was covering rugby league and he was coaching the whole time, that we would cross swords on many, many occasions, and that relationship continued outside rugby league and still does today.
Yeah. I got on with him first when he was in Newcastle, when I was at NBN, but when I was at Channel 10, again, I fell into that media trap of we got to get the best grab, and there's a lot of pressure to get that best grab. And the only way I could get a good grab out of him, don't hate me, Craig, was to make him angry, to ask us like a question that would, because he was one of those people that, he is one of those people that if he wants a rule changed, he gets on that soapbox, and when he wants to get on the front foot and say something. But on other times, he's very guarded. And it's, as you know, I mean, it's very hard to get a good grab out of him. Not like yourself, where you could sit down with him. And
the longer form interview is Wayne Bennett's specialty. When you have time, and TV journos and radio sideline eyes, if they're going to talk to the coach, and even in the press conference before the game, when there's a whole 6, 7, 10 journos all with microphones, you don't have that opportunity. But many times I had the blessing of having time on my side and to do a 10-minute long form interview with Wayne Bennett. He gave me some absolute gold in those interviews, and that's where I was very fortunate to be able to. Then you can pick the gold out of that for that news bulletin. See, the problem we have in the media now is this 24/7 news cycle, and everything's news seconds after it's happened, and then an hour later we've moved on. We've moved on. It's so quick now. Yeah. It's so quick. So, but no, it's a great relationship with Wayne. We disagreed a number of times, and he rang me on a couple of occasions and said, I didn't like what you did yesterday. So he was up front.
Yeah. One, this is a segue you never thought you'd hear, from Wayne Bennett to George Costanza.
Yeah.
You think that everyone needs a George Costanza moment in their life every day?
Yes, every day.
Why is that?
George Costanza does more for me and improving my mental health than any individual.
Some people would go, hang on.
On the planet. I'm serious. Get a George Costanza feed on Instagram. Where is he? Yeah. He is a hero.
Not you. It's me.
You're giving me the "it's not you, it's me" routine? I invented "it's not you, it's me." Believe it or not, George isn't at home. Please leave a message at the beep. I must be out before I pick up the phone. Where could I be? Believe it or not, I'm not home.
He's the best.
So please, a little respect. For I am Costanza, Lord of the Idiots.
Do yourself a favour. Get that on your Instagram feed. He'll pop up. I share them with a good mate of mine. I share them back and forward, and it just turns your day around. You mightn't be having the greatest day, and you'll have a quick look. Oh, what's George up to?
It's almost like he's saying the things that you always, at some point in the day, it always goes through your head, but you can't really say it out loud or to anyone.
Well, look, the thing with me and George is this. You're having a bad day, okay? You're having a bad day. You're not that happy about the way things are tracking, and you're ready to start kicking stones. You're getting a bit cranky. And I go, right, what's happening in George's life? It'll be worse than this. So I get on there and have a look, and it is. It's worse. What he's dealing with in his life is always worse.
Did you get a park right out the front of the library? It was a gift from the gods, Jerry.
There's no parking limit there, is there?
I know meditation, meditation and yoga therapy is a couple of things that you took on board. Gardening as well. Now, you did the gardening segment for many years. You thought it was boring as batshit for all those years. Did you ever think that it was actually going to be a help in the long run?
The gardening program on the ABC was one of the true joys I had behind the microphone. Now, people will find that hard to believe. Those that listened every week to the gardening part of the ABC Breakfast Show will know what I'm talking about here. I know nothing about gardening, nothing. But I spent the whole program making out I knew everything. And when you make out on the program you know everything and that 95% of the audience is in on the joke, then it's very funny. It can be very funny. And I was amusing myself on that program, right? If anyone else could get a laugh out of it, that was a good thing. But I wanted to be having a good time. And, there'd be people ringing up and they'd, I remember I started the program with Bill Whalen, then Helen Whalen came on board, and then we had a rotation of gardeners, gardening experts. And quite often I'd butt in before. Just hang on a moment. Just hang on a moment there, Helen. Before you answer this, I'd like to just say a few words about this problem. I'd be giving that plant some iron chelates.
So when you were doing after in a rugby league game, the interviews on the field, if you saw a worn patch, you'd be like, hey mate, you have to put a bit of top dress in there.
No, never did that. Once gardening was on, I was gardening. Once it was off, I'd finish gardening.
How is your garden now?
Oh, look, it's still a mess. We've got 2 dogs, so they run around a crepe myrtle tree like it's a greyhound track. Can't grow grass. Put down some wood chip at the moment, trying to get a bit of grass going on the other side. But look, it's coming along. It's a 10-year project.
You want to go to your old haunts and get some cow manure and.
Oh, look, we've got enough fertiliser, thanks, Caney. And enough advice too, if you don't mind.
Okay, mate. Well, next question. Your dad was a drover before being a dairy farmer, but you only found that out late in life, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Why didn't you think you just don't ask, or people?
I never thought to ask. Dad got married late in life. He wasn't married. Dad wasn't married till he was 36, and I was born when he was 38. So the years between being 36 and working backwards to when he was a kid really weren't ever talked about.
That's the same with my dad too, actually.
Weren't really talked about. And so I sat down with Dad when he was in his mid-70s. He lived to be 91. He had dementia when he died. But at 75, sharp as a tack. And I sat down and actually interviewed him about his life and took him back to tell me what happened next. So what were you doing? And he tells me he was a drover at one stage, and so that's on a horse with a cattle dog.
So how old were you at this stage?
I was, mate, this was when he was 17. I was years and years away.
No, but when he told you this, how old were you?
Well, he was 75. Oh, gee, I don't know.
Wow. That's still a long time to not know that.
If he's 75 and there's 30, I would have been in my 30s. In my 30s when I did the interview. But, yeah, so we're talking about droving, cattle, and he's moving cattle on roads, on a horse and a stock whip and a dog. And there might be 50 or 60 cows, and he's moving them from one paddock that's to an adjustment paddock where there's better food, better feed for the cows. And I'm going, that's amazing. Who can do that? What a skill to be able to do that. Keep all the cows in control. Use your dog to run around. The border collies are fantastic for that. To run around the outside, keep the cows in check. Then you get out of trouble. They get a bit of a whack with the stock whip, and the horsey can move up there as well. Who knew?
Is it true that he actually drove the tractor to the pub in Singleton?
Yes, he did more than once. More than once.
Imagine getting pulled over at the breathalyzer there,
Oh, look, those were the days, number one, there were no breathalyzers.
Yeah.
It was a Massey Ferguson tractor that he drove around the farm. And he drove it in. It wasn't that far from the farm because we were on the outskirts, right on the border actually, right where the Singleton sign starts is where the farm was. Yep. And so even the tractor would have gone about 15 k's an hour, right? 15 k's an hour. So, yeah, he drove it into the pub and drove it home, and he rode the horse to the pub. He's a man. He's a man for another time, He's wow. Dad was someone who I could imagine being in rawhide, something like that. Yeah, a colourful racing. Well, not a colourful racing identity because there was nothing too much bad about my father. No. He had his challenges, and as all fathers do, and as all of us do, but both my parents had far, far more good qualities than qualities that you would say, they could have done some work. We're all a work in progress. But no, they inspired, gave us so many tools for life as we got older and grew up and went into careers and had our own kids. I mean, you don't realise, you don't realise that you're alive until you've got kids. And then you realise, I talked a bit before about find something that's bigger than yourself. Well, the moment you got 2 or 3 kids, you got something that's bigger than yourself because they're absolutely they need you.
Your mum was a painter too, oil painting.
Yeah.
Did she ever make you into an oil painting?
She never sat me down to do a portrait, Caney, thanks for asking. But no, Mum was mainly a watercolours painter. Her mother, my grandmother, was an oil-based painter, and they're both very good, and Mum loved it as a way of her relaxation, I think. She did a lot of painting, went to a painting club in Singleton. Yeah, and I occasionally run into people. There's been a couple who have come to screenings of the film and said, I was in the painting group with your mum, And
she was a
nice.
10-pound pom, wasn't she?
10-pound pom, yeah.
So how did she get to Singleton, or how did your mum and dad meet?
Well, it depends who you talk to in many ways. Mum came out with a friend of hers, Cecily, as a 10-pound pom, arrived in Sydney, and then I think they got the train up to Singleton. They're both registered nurses, and they both got a job at the Singleton Hospital, and Dad was the most eligible bachelor in Singleton, which you are if you're not married and you're 36. Yeah. In the 1960s.
Mate, he was going a bit like George Costanza by then, wasn't he?
Yeah, going a bit like George Costanza. So he, they met. He asked Mum out. There was 10 years difference between them. So Dad's 36, Mum was 26, and they met, and the rest is history.
You know what? If you say the word pom to Simon Hill, he will cut you down.
Really?
He finds that the most offensive phrase, and I had no idea. He says it's up there, he goes, well, it's like in England where you can't call Pakistanis Pakis because that's offensive.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, really? I said, we used to have, remember the Jingles, the World Series Cup, the Pakis, the Windies are here to win this series, and I never knew. And so I never, but you still hear people talk about it, but there's some English that don't have a drama with it, but there is.
Well, times move on. Things that are offensive now were not considered offensive 20 years ago, were not considered offensive 40 years ago, and things that were considered offensive 40 years ago weren't considered offensive 80 years ago. So time moves on.
Well, there's one person that may have been, offensive over time, and it depends on who you speak to. You caught up with the Wok.
Yep.
Recently.
I did. Yeah, yes, I did.
Is there a picture? He looks so good. How old would he be now?
He's in his 80s, Warren. There it is, yeah.
Honestly, he doesn't look...
I got him up close. He's 84.
Wow.
84, Warren, who had a wonderful coaching career, won 2 grand finals as the coach of the Bulldogs in the mid-80s, but actually coached in 6 grand finals.
Well, got Newtown to the big dance, didn't he?
Yeah. 1981 he coached Newtown, and they lost to that great Parramatta side. It was just about to become a great Parramatta side. Then he went to the Bulldogs, coached grand final in 1984, 85 and 86.
Yep.
They won 2 of those.
Yep.
87 he
probably should have won another one, I reckon, in that era.
Well, the one 1986, there was no tries scored. It was 4-2.
That was really a toss of the coin one.
It was. It was the last game for Ray Price and Mick Cronin. Yeah. And, you think, well, maybe we send these boys out winners. I don't know. Depends who you talk to. But then, of course, there was 2 with Balmain, and he got Wests into the semis. Great coach. And look, he's polarising, absolutely polarising. There's a lot of people that don't like Warren. Personally, they do not like Warren, and I have met most of them.
Mainly from here?
Oh, heavens no. No, wherever Warren's been, there's been controversy with players or administrators. He's an incredibly intelligent guy and a phenomenal coach, and you can measure that not only by his results, but you measure that, I think, by the way that he's changed the game. He hasn't just coached rugby league, he has changed rugby league in the way it's played now. There are modern-day coaches. There are coaches who are coaching now who call Warren and say, can I come and have a beer with you?
Yeah.
I need to talk about. And I'm talking current and previous Origin coaches still meet up with him. Ask Andrew Johns, who's the greatest coach in rugby league, and he'll name this bloke.
And a lot of coaches a lot of players that he coached went on to become good coaches as well.
They did.
Which you look back at, you look at, say, Sir Alex Ferguson in the Premier League, you know, back to rugby league, you probably look at, I suppose, Wayne Bennett, Bellamy, you know. Just a question, do you feel that some people, I take for example what's happened with Adam O'Brien, do you feel that there's some coaches that just are better assistant coaches than the head, that being the main man?
Yeah, I think that's
like
fair.
a Jason Taylor and they seem to have success. Trent Barrett, another one. They just seem to be better off in that second, to talk to that middleman between the players.
Yeah, I think that's true. But you've got to consider as well, there aren't too many head coaching jobs going at any time. There's 17 teams, soon to be 18, so there's 18 jobs. Not a lot of jobs.
Yeah. Tired of missing out on the best properties? Stop searching, start winning. At Optimum Buyers Agency, we work for you, not the seller. We negotiate harder, we move faster, we find the homes others don't. Off-market deals, smart strategy, real results. Whether it's your first home or your forever home, we make it happen. Optimum Buyers Agency, your edge in a competitive market. I was just staying on the walk. I became good mates with Benny Elias when I was in Sydney, and I mentioned to him about the 89 grand final, replacing Ciro and Blocker, and he actually said to me, he goes, you know what? He goes, to me, he said, if I didn't hit the crossbar, I think, do we have that? But it's funny. He actually said, he goes, I don't blame the walk because I had the chance to finish it and I didn't.
How this 8 metres of crossbar would have changed our lives at Tiger Town. All the supporters, the players. You just realise that rotten noise still rings in my ear.
Has he got time? Plenty of it. Hits the crossbar.
That rotten noise that came back to us and never went over. This lousy 1 point, that
the
split
width of
second,
the crossbar away
really
from a
becomes
premiership.
almost like a mini nightmare. And there was plenty of moments where you sort of think now and ponder how easy it was to knock that over. But, oh, crikey. Oh, I cannot believe it.
Yeah. 1 from
That's how
5,
easy.
Benny.
But at the time when he made those replacements, you probably go, well, I think Kevin Hardwick was one of them. He's a renowned tackler. It was probably the right time to do that.
There's two things with that, and it does get brought up. Whenever Tigers fans and Warren Ryan are in the same sentence, it's, what about the 89 grand final? He took Blocker off and he took Benny Elias off, cost us the game. If you dig down or scratch the surface a little bit, you'll see two things. Right through the final series, late in the game, Warren had been replacing Blocker and Benny and putting the likes of Kevin Hardwick on the field because he's a very good defensive player to defend a lead.
Yeah.
It wasn't unique to the grand final. And the other thing is, if you watch the game again, it was a fantastic grand final. It was one of the great grand finals, 1989. If you watch the game back again and watch it closely, that last 10 minutes or so leading up to full time, the Canberra players were running riot through the middle of the ruck. The defence of the Tigers in the middle was falling to pieces, being picked apart. And it was, you look at it and you go, well, you don't second-guess Warren Ryan in rugby league, I'm sorry, because he's looking at that and he can see it before anyone else. They're going to score. It's inevitable that they are going to score and they're going to win this game, and we need to do something about it. And what I'm going to do, it'll be unpopular, unpalatable, and controversial, but I'm going to do it.
Yep.
And my view, it didn't cost the Tigers the game. I think Canberra. Well, Benny said it himself. I kicked that field goal, we win.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, in extra time, Chicka Ferguson gets himself over, then Steve Jackson.
I suppose it's when you look at it, it's etched in folklore though, isn't it? It's people we're talking about it now. It's like the Neville Glover dropping the ball in the corner, Glover's corner, and Greg Hartley 7 tackles. That sort of thing that we talk about. You feel that now that the game's so clear cut, the bunker, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
we get rid of that controversy that can actually stand the test of time to look back and go, remember that blunder? But they still do blunders in the bunker.
There's a lot of controversy around the bunker and the use of the bunker, but we get so much right now that we didn't before. We're getting so many correct decisions thanks to the bunker that we would never have got previously. So I'm a fan of the bunker. It's never, ever going to be absolutely spot on, and that's okay. While ever humanity is involved, it's never going to be perfect. I think the bunker should go a step further. I think they should use the bunker for forward passes. Currently, they don't. Currently, they don't.
So many of them.
And it's a situation sometimes you will see a try scored. Everyone on the ground or at the ground knows it's a forward pass, blatant forward pass. They see it come up on the big screen that's a blatant forward pass. The try's already been awarded. The touch judge has missed it. The ref has missed it. Comes up on the big screen, but it can't be overruled in the bunker. I think with those ones, those absolute, howlers, if you like, should be able to be reviewed for forward passes.
So that I was about to ask if there was one rule in the game, would that be it?
Look, there's a lot you'd look at, but that for me is the one.
Yeah, especially for the viewers.
Yeah.
I was going to say, how many tries would Ken Irvine have scored if he didn't have to touch the corner?
How many would he have scored?
Yeah.
How many wouldn't he have scored if the bunker would be there as well? You can say, Kenny Irvine was that great. If the bunker was there, he'd have had about 800 tries. If the bunker was there, Kenny Irvine might have had 250.
Okay. How many runs would Greg Chappell have scored if they had a rope 10 metres in from the fence?
Exactly. It's eras. It's the comparison.
It's be an asterisk.
You're great. I had the last time I saw Wayne Bennett was at a lunch, and we had a lunch and we were sitting down there, and I was talking to him about because I like comparisons and having an opinion and why do you think this and why do you think that, and I said to him, look, because I love boxing, I love the sport of boxing, and I said, if Dennis Lilly was my hero in cricket, well, Muhammad Ali was my favourite and hero in boxing, and I like to say, look, I think he is the greatest. He said he was. I think he is the greatest heavyweight fighter and would find a way to beat all of them when at his best, including Mike Tyson at his best. Yep. And Wayne just cut me off at the kneecaps. He said, at that level, they're all great. You don't compare eras. It's someone's opinion compared to someone else's opinion. But I think with some, of course, you can. You can say, is Don Bradman the best? Absolutely. You got to say Bradman is.
Oh, yeah.
His batting average is nearly double the next best.
Absolutely.
So, and he'd have accommodated whatever conditions. He'd have found a way to do it.
God, I wish I had that same relationship with Wayne Bennett. Can you patch it up for us?
No. No, I think if I took you along to one of these lunches when I see him and said, look, listen, Wayne, Michael Caine is with me and he met you a couple of times and you couldn't copy him then. Will you copy him now? And he said, no.
Well, he's in good company because Nathan Tinkler hates me as well. Did you ever do an interview with him?
One, over the phone, I think.
I did one. I think Mike Rabbit's the only other person.
Yeah, no, he wasn't particularly, as media friendly as some the coaches are and people are that you might get to interview. He was the other way.
He by the end of the interview, his face got redder. You could see the pigmentation in his face go from normal to red as a beetroot by the end of it. But
yeah,
you know, you only get one Nathan Tinkler in front of you. You may as well throw the kitchen sink at him. Just going back to the sideline again. It would have been some great times on that sideline. Was it the grand finals or was it the state of origins? Was it just? Is there games that you sort of think that stand out just for the average games?
Well, the grand finals are special nights. They are events. The whole grand final day is just an event. You know there's going to be a game. It's going to be an 80-minute game. Hopefully it'll be a great game.
Should it go back to the afternoon?
That's a good question. I don't know. I really don't know.
Come on, give me something we could use this for a soundbite. Come on.
Because I think we've become used to the night matches.
Yeah.
And there's certainly we've got a facility like Olympic Stadium or Accor Stadium these days. It's great for TV. The atmosphere at the ground is huge when you're in the crowd and on the sideline. I don't know.
It's funny because I think the AFL...
But I did a couple of sideline grand finals. I did a couple. I think the first night grand final was 2001 with the Knights playing Parramatta.
That's right. Yeah.
2000 was an afternoon grand final with the Broncos and the Roosters, and then of course 97 with the Knights and Manly. Who'll forget that? That's probably the pick. I mean, because you live here, you live in Newcastle. You know the players because you've interviewed them all 100 times before you get to that day. Yeah, and it was just what a magic day.
Did you feel in that lead up? You just had a feeling they were going to win, hook or by crook, even though Manly had beaten them so many times before. And it's the same sort of thing.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
There was just a feeling, I thought, in the town.
I think everyone in the town was so excited that Newcastle had made the grand final.
Yeah.
I think the spectators. There will be some who'll tell you now, and there'll probably be a lot, I knew they were going to win. I knew they were going to win. There was no evidence there to say they were going to win. Manly had beaten them 11 times in a row. They'd beaten them 11 times in a row for a reason. Mm-hmm. They had the wood on them. And what Newcastle could come up with wasn't ever good enough for 11 games. That doesn't mean you can't win the 12th one, and they did win the 12th one, but look back at that game.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have won it. They weren't in front in the game until the Darren Albert try. That was the first time they got in front in the entire match. And if Shannon Nevin kicks a penalty goal, which he missed, he'd been kicking them from the sideline all season, and he misses one which is about 15 metres to the left of the uprights, inexplicably for a penalty goal, they don't win again. So, look back at the game. It's still so many great stories out of it with Joey running the blind and Albert scoring the try and Chief bashing up the Manly pack single-handedly, which he did. Yeah. Robbie O'Davis scoring 2 tries, getting the Churchill medal. It was a fabulous day.
Yeah, there is going to say that because when I was in Sydney with Channel 10, I had that same sort of comparison in 2016 when Cronulla won, just because I was going down the Shire all the time, and I had that same feeling. It was almost like this is it. We got people painting houses like they were up here.
Well, they want them to win. We've still got very much this underdog mentality that, if I'm going for, if I want anyone, if the team that's in the grand final, or if I'm not supporting the 2 teams that are in the grand final, I'm going to pick the one that is more pleasing to me or the underdog. And that was the case with Cronulla against the Storm, and it was the case with the Knights against Manly. And that day when Newcastle played Manly in 1997, that was like a home game.
Yeah,
there was that much red and blue around the stadium. There was barely anyone there cheering for Manly. I mean, there might have been 15,000 there who were for Manly, and the rest.
Oh,
The rest in that 50,000 crowd were rabid Knights fans.
one word answer. Who do you support before the Knights came in?
St George.
You're a St George man.
Mm.
Yeah. Peter Volandes is a St George man. You know.
Yeah, I grew up following the Saints. Billy Smith, Chang,
Yep.
Graham Langlands.
Collect the footy cards.
Yes, yeah.
What about this?
And chewed the chewing gum.
Remember this when you opened the packet? There was the smell of the cards from the chewing gum. You remember that smell?
Not really.
Oh, well, I do.
No.
Thanks for crashing that one, mate.
You've got way too much time on your hands, Caney.
Just fine. Well, Justin Holbrook, is he the man?
Yes.
Why?
His form with a team on the Gold Coast that was not laden with
They were going okay too, weren't
superstars. They were going okay. He brought them up the table, got them into a final series, and I think they were ninth or something when he was sacked. He travelled to the UK, had success in the UK, knows the game, and actually wrote an article about this about 3 weeks before they announced him as coach. And I looked, I went through the potential candidates that were being, thrown up at the time. And I came to the conclusion that Holbrook was the man and he would be my pick if I had to choose. Yep. I went down to the Central Coast for a meeting with Mal Meninga when he was the Kangaroos coach earlier that year, so last season, and we were talking about what I might do in the mental health area with the Kangaroos. Yep. So I went down to the Central Coast. They were in camp. And who's there sitting alongside Mal in the Kangaroos tracksuit working on the computer but Justin Holbrook?
Wow.
Now, you don't get a gig with the Kangaroos if you're a mug.
Yep.
So that added a lot of weight for me to see that the Kangaroos and Mal Meninga thought, now we can use this bloke to do some assistant coaching with the national team. I think he's just the bloke Newcastle needs.
Just a few random questions to finish off. You've still got your miners hat, helmet?
No. I think the last day I came out of the mines, I might have left it there.
Oh, come
because
there
it
is.
There it is, yeah. Look,
I thought every miner would keep their helmet.
No, I was ready to leave the mines. I had 16 years of wearing it. No, I think I might have left it there. Someone might have it, but I don't.
Do you have a few close calls with it on?
Yeah, a few. Yeah, a few. I think anyone who works underground in coal mining for 16 years is going to see some things and dodge a few bullets and get lucky. And I think that happened a few times with me as well. I think there were some close calls.
My dad worked in the Burwood colliery and he lost an eye.
Yep.
And he ended up having a glass eye. I used to take it to school, have a fake fight with someone. And the teacher would come over and go, "What's wrong?" And I'd pull it out and she'd nearly faint.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, that's my...
You're a shocker, Caney.
Prize sporting possession.
Prize sporting possession. Look, I don't... I honestly don't keep a lot of memorabilia. I suppose if...
What would you love to have then?
As memorabilia? I don't even think like that. I have had memorabilia. I gave away to a mate of mine who does love memorabilia. I gave him some signed autographs with photos of former Australian cricket captains that I had produced myself.
Wow.
Benno, Laurie, Mark Taylor. I'm trying to think who are the others. Border, Greg Chappell, Ian Chappell. They'd all signed these and I'd made it up and framed it. And he went, wow, and he saw it. I said, mate, you can have it.
Wow.
I had it for a few years, but I just had nowhere to put it on the wall. I'm proud of my New South Wales country cricket cap.
Yep.
That's a reminder. I still got that. It's a reminder that, you're a fair player in your day. Yep. So, but other than that, no.
If I have to lay carpet at your house in the near future, can I put it on?
If
it's
I'm
no Rick McCosker's hat.
Mate, if I'm not there, you will because you've got form. You put Rick McCosker's hat on and he wasn't home. I can't wait to see him. This is a disgrace.
Singleton. It's a bit of a rugby union town as well.
Mm-hmm.
Why no rah-rah?
Why no rah-rah?
Or did you have a go at it?
Rah-rah?
Yeah, rugby union. Yeah.
Mate, I played 3 first-grade games.
Did you? I didn't know that.
So there you see, you're not as good as you think
No,
you
you
are
got me on that.
with your research.
You got me on
You're
that.
pretty good, I'll give you that.
What position were you?
Centre. Played in the centres for the Singleton Bulls in first grade for 3 games, and one of those games was the grand final at Scone Park, and we played against Merriwa and we won. So I have won a first grade grand final for Singleton, and Ed Shannon was playing for Merriwa, and Ed Shannon played for New South Wales as a fullback. So they had a pretty good side in terms of bush rugby union. Merriwa were very strong in those days.
Well, even Singleton, was it the early 90s? I think they won 4 grand finals in a row when Merrick's...
Steve Merrick played there in the Newcastle competition, and, of course, Steve, there's a story. You ought to get him on your podcast.
I mean, he knocked back the chance to play professional rugby.
He played two tests, both against the All Blacks.
And went back to the mine.
And handled himself very well in both those games.
Filling in for George Gregan.
Yeah, filled in for George Gregan, who went on to play 100 tests.
Yep.
But Steve, the game was going professional. Steve didn't want to go down that path and never be home. So he said, I'm going to go back and get a job in the mines, and he did.
And you, you miners were rolling in it, so of course you're going to go back.
The underground guys weren't. I won't let you get away with that.
For the best interview you've done, sporting or otherwise?
Oh, look, there's so many. It's just too difficult to pin one down.
Don't say your mate Wayne.
If you're going to throw a few at me, I don't know. I did a very good one with John Quayle. John Quayle up at Denman at his property.
Yeah, he's still up there too.
Yeah, he's I like John as a bloke, and very forthright, because he was in charge of rugby league right through the Super League days. Yeah. He was there at Eastern Suburbs when Arthur Beetson was captain of the Roosters, and Jack Gibson was the coach. He's got some great stories, and working alongside Ken Arthurson during the halcyon days of the ARL. So we talked about that. So that I enjoyed that interview very much with John Quayle. But all the rugby league ones over the years have been a lot of those. I'll tell you one I did with Bob Fulton, which is, well, it's not infamous because not too many people know about it, but we had to do the interviews after the game with the coaches. I'd take my Sony tape recorder down, microphone, and so I've done this interview which went for about 6 or 7 minutes with Bob Fulton. Now, Bob could be a really cranky character.
Especially if you're Bill Harrigan.
Well, and particularly if he lost.
Yeah.
He was so competitive, Bozo, that if he lost, he was not happy, and he didn't want to do an interview particularly, but that was part of the deal. So he does this interview with me, goes for about 6 or 7 minutes. I take the tape recorder up, and we plug it in. Peter Wilkins is running the show, and we plug it in, and he says, he crosses to the interview. He said, now let's hear from what Bob Fulton's got to say in the Manly dressing room. He's with Craig Hamilton.
No, dead air.
Silence. Crickets. Oh. I'm going, there's nothing there. And then I looked and I saw, I haven't plugged my microphone in. I have not plugged it in. I've gone down there and I've been holding this microphone that's not plugged in to the tape recorder. I thought, no, I've got to go back and see Bozo. I've got to get this interview. I've got to get this interview. So I go back down to the dressing room. I knock on the Manly door, see the guy on the door. I said, look, I need to talk to Bozo. My interview hasn't worked. So I went over and I said, look, Bob, I'm really sorry, mate, but I forgot to plug my microphone in. Can you do an interview with me again? He just looked daggers at me and he said, so they're sending the work experience boys down today from the ABC, are they? So I said, Bozo, that's fair, mate, that's fair. But to his credit, he did the interview, we did it again, and I had my microphone well and truly plugged in.
That's an incredible story from an incredible life. Craig Hamilton, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Michael.
We've covered every subject from George Costanza.
We have.
The Promise and all your interviews. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, mate.